Hey guys, it's Shay, it's Wednesday. I'm trying to do this outside because it is like 72 degrees out and it's glorious. But there's a lot of traffic, so I might have to go inside. And apparently, I need to wash the front door. Alright, so this week we're talking about common FTM stereotypes, mythbusters, if you will. And the one I wanted to talk about are how when you start transitioning that your gender attraction will change, as in if you were once interested in women, you then become interested in men, or conversely. And I want to talk about personality changes. One of my favorites is that you stop being able to cry, but I guess that's not really a personality thing, it's just something I'm going to talk about. And then another one is that you have to take tea or get some kind of surgery in order to count as being transgender. And then, assuming I haven't rambled and I'm still under like the 15-minute mark, I want to talk about how you have to be heterosexual and how you have to be in a straight relationship once you transition. First and foremost, gender attraction change. And mind you, I'm talking about this from the perspective of me and my opinions based on discussion with trans people that both did have their gender attraction change and did not. So, I don't know, I'm pretty nosy and ask a lot of questions, so, I don't know, I feel like, while it's not personal, I still feel like I'm a little bit informed on it. Now, I do know a lot of people that, switched teams once they started transitioning, and I think it's common enough that a stereotype or a myth about it is getting to be valid, and best as I can tell, here's why. Here's why I think it happens. Secretly on the down low, back in the day, you did used to like whichever gender. Say you used to be, attracted to females, and now once you've transitioned, you're attracted to males. Now the reasoning behind that, my theory, is that you always were, but the idea of being in an intimate setting with a cisgendered male was very, very painful because, that was the body that you wanted and needed to be in. And so, to spend that much close contact with it was just awful. And I think a lot of times, too, trans guys, I don't know what the right word is, but I don't, it's just, it's a constant showing of the things that you don't have, that you are supposed to have, and it's frustrating, and that's why you choose to date women instead. So as people get comfortable with their transition and they start, enjoying their body and surgery if they want to, but just as you feel confident in your male appearance, the idea of being intimate with somebody who's male isn't as bad. So that's why I think that one happens. Or, say you're bi now, whatever. Same concept. But it's not mandatory. Not everybody does it. A lot of people that once transitioned have absolutely no interest in being with a dude. And that's okay. Some dudes marry dudes. Personality changes. Stereotyping about that. And I think the reason... Alright, my very first interaction with a trans guy was on the L Word with Max, right? And nowadays I know that, he was self-dosing, had no idea what his dosage should be, he wasn't being monitored, he was doing all kinds of crazy shit. It was not a healthy situation for him. But, he was desperate to do it, and that's the route he was taking. So, when he had his extreme rage moments or whatever, it was because his doses weren't right for him. As you guys know, especially in the very, very beginning days of taking tea, like, your emotions go crazy because they don't know exactly how much you're supposed to be on, or, how little, or how much is too much. Like, it's just a process. It takes some time to get used to it. It's a hormone you're introducing to your body. And yeah, initially, usually it's kind of rough because it's a guessing game to begin with. But eventually, once you get used to it and once you get your dose right, you go back to yourself. If you were calm before, you're going to be calm after. If you were a pissy asshole before, you're still going to be a pissy asshole. You just have more muscles now. But going along with that, for people that say that they can't cry once they start T, I have a theory, and that is that, there's the saying, men don't cry. Cis men, we assume, don't cry. So when cis men cry, we give them shit, people make fun of them, people just give them a hard time about it. And so all of us grow up thinking, oh yeah, men don't cry, men don't cry, men don't cry. So once you start transitioning, men don't cry, so you're not supposed to cry. So if you feel like if you're gonna cry, then people will think you're being womanly, which is, harken back to the olden days, and it's inappropriate because you're a dude now. Well, physically manifesting as a dude now, so people will wonder, and that's why you choose not to cry anymore. And so I do know from personal fact that, well, I don't know, I've always cried my eyes out over anything I felt like, and on T, I cried too, and my partner cries on T. When we watch sappy movies, oh my god, we'll sit there and, bawl our eyes out together. But I think it's because of the environment we've created, and that if you want to cry, it's cool. I don't know, I remember in my life, almost 27 now, I've seen my dad cry exactly once, and it was because of an argument I was having with him, and whatever it was that I said, I made him cry, and it was horrifying, because men don't cry. Men aren't supposed to cry. Men don't cry. That's not manly. So I think we're so ingrained with that concept that men don't cry that we translate it into our trans selves, all the old stereotypes. Women do the cleaning, the housework, the cooking, and men, mow the yard and fix the car. So even though we're trying to be progressive, open-minded people, those are still the stereotypes that our parents thanks mom, handed down to us. So, it takes actual work to break the dumb stereotypes that were ingrained in you by different generations. And I don't know, men do cry. It's cool. It's okay. Men cry. No big deal. That's my theory on that. But yeah, personality changes in general, though, there are some common ones that I've seen once people come out as trans, simply as trans, and then, as they become more comfortable with themselves. Whether it's through hormones or through therapy or just simply getting a good group of supportive friends, having a good support network. The biggest change I see in trans guys is that they get happy, and they get comfortable, and they get confident. And, when you have all these good things going on internally, you manifest them externally. You can't even help it. Gavin has this really cool tattoo, which I'm probably going to jack up, but internal evolution, external revolution. Pretty much the change on the inside will project. If you're unhappy, you'll come across as unhappy. If you are not confident and you're uncomfortable with your presentation and you're nervous about your interaction with other people, they'll read that. They might not understand exactly what you're doing, but it'll come across. So when you start feeling good about yourself and you start being happy, that comes across too. And so that's why it's so common that, trans guys come out, they get happier, they get confident, they stand a little taller, they speak a little louder, they get a little braver. And so those are absolutely personality changes that I have seen. But does it mean your guy's going to turn into an asshole? No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. Alright. So yesterday Monica touched a little bit on, the myth that you have to take hormones or get some kind of surgery in order to be trans. And I'm going to take it a little further than she did, because I think she was mostly talking about taking time to understand what's going on with you before you take medical steps, which I am a big supporter of. My personal best reference ever, Gavin, he came out as trans 3 years before he did anything physical, which I think was really good, because, I don't know, it's not like it was ever easy to make a big-ass decision or a big-ass declaration like that, but Gavin came out when he was 27, I think, so he had 27 years of a mindset, of a way of thinking that he had to kind of adjust and rotate. And, you know, something he says a lot is that his whole life he was watching what men did and watching the way they interact with people and watching how they treat people. And from that watching, he was able to see the kind of man that he wanted to be, you know. He was able to pick and choose, I guess, the male qualities that he wanted in his life, which I think is really cool. And then, you know, once he actually came out as trans, he understood the process a little better, I guess, and so he learned and learned and learned and learned and learned as much as he could. And then, you know, I don't know that you need 3 years to do it, but I think having some time in between coming out as trans and then medically transitioning, I think is a good idea, because a lot of time trans people think that, you know, getting onto the physical part of it is going to fix everything, when in reality it's a little bit, it's kind of like a band-aid, because if you have all of these internal conflicts, changing your outside doesn't fix what's going on inside your head. Yes, your body finally matches the way it's supposed to, and your voice is deep the way it's supposed to be, but if inside, you know, you still have a lot of heartache and difficulties, like, those have to be fixed eventually, which is why I think a lot of people get not disappointed almost, you know, once they start physically doing something and life didn't magically change the way they were expecting. Ooh, that's a good myth, how starting physically transitioning fixes everything. It really doesn't. You know, life still sucks. You still have to work at it. Unfortunately, it'd be great. Alright, so what I was supposed to be talking about in this point was how you have to take hormones of some variety, and you have to get surgery in order to be trans. Now, to me, if you are a man, then you are a man, period. It doesn't matter what your face looks like, or what your voice sounds like, or what kind of clothes you like to wear. That makes absolutely no difference. If you are a man, you are a man, period. Now, science is cool. We can take hormones, we can get surgery. That's awesome. But there are a lot of people that choose to only take hormones or only get surgery, and there's also a lot of people that choose to do neither. And this isn't very common yet, so I think it's a little bit of a growing movement. I don't know, it makes sense to me, but I never really thought about it a whole lot. So I asked a friend of mine who is, you know, he's trans and has no intentions of taking hormones or getting any kind of surgery, so I figured, you know, I'd actually ask an actual source. His name is Sky, and he lives, I think, somewhere in California. This is called What Makes a Man. For years I've been saying that gender is determined by an inward knowledge of self, not the parts of one's bodies or the state of one's hormones. Lately, I've been thinking that since I'm a man regardless of my parts, then it's actually not necessary to change my body. I am handsome just the way I am now, and I don't need hormones to make me handsome. I'm manly in my own way, and I don't care if I go against the grain of society's guideline for manhood. I'm growing, I'm maturing, and I'm becoming more content with myself, because I'm no longer pretending to be a girl. Something I did for 33 years. After all these years of shame and self-hatred, I'm actually proud of myself and learning to love myself. So I really am transitioning. It's just that my journey is different. From a self-hating closet case living a lie to a content, self-loving, out and proud trans man living my own version of manhood. And I think that's really the crux of it, you know, if that's how you say that word. He said, I really am transitioning. It's just that my journey is different. You know, it's that simple. Your story is not my story. The way I live my life probably wouldn't work for you. I'm weird as fuck. You know, I think the point of life is trying to be happy, keeping a roof over your head, showering occasionally, you know, loving the people around you. For me, that's the meaning of life. You don't have to take surgeries if you don't want to. Take hormones if you don't want to, and you don't have to get surgeries if you don't want to. If you do, that's awesome. If you don't, works for me too. I don't care, you know? I love you regardless. As long as you're nice. Alright, I guess that's it for me. Yep, I hit my time limit. Alright. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you're having a good week and stuff. Oh, if you have any myths that we haven't talked about yet this week, feel free to comment or message them in, and somebody else later on during the week will get it.